Hello and welcome back to Ollie Talks Airsoft. It's time, we're doing it. It's the big video. We're talking about the green gas mod and whether you should actually green gas modify all of your TM mags or whether you should leave them stock, whether it's actually not even anything that you should be considering. There is a lot to go over, so I do apologise in advance for the length of this video, but there's a lot of detail and actually I've discovered through literally weeks of testing that the answer to this question isn't a straightforward yes you should, no you shouldn't. It's going to depend on things like whereabouts in the world you live, what your ambient temperatures are, what kind of a shooter are you? Are you running your MWS as a DMR? Is it a CQB gun? Do you fire lots of full auto? What kind of setup do you have in it? Do you have a lightweight bolt in it? Which mags do you have? Do you have version 1s, version 2s? We're covering all of it. So yeah, it's a long video, but it's one that I have been wanting to know the answer to for a long time. And I feel satisfied that in this video, we cover off all of the different permutations, all of the questions that I had about it. I've kind of answered, and I really hope that you enjoy this. It's been a long time in the making. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in, and let's get on with it. Let's get started. The green gas mod, what is it? Well, this is a TM Marui MWS magazine. Comes like this from the factory, and in the bottom here, where you fill the gas up, there is actually a pipe which runs all the way down, and it runs about halfway down. And what that means is that when you're filling the gas into the magazine, the liquid gas will fill up to about here, and then it'll stop. And the reason that they do this is to limit the amount of liquid propellant that you can have in the actual magazine. Now, it's important to note that in Japan, they actually have very different laws to the rest of the world. So in Japan, they're not allowed to have any flammable propellants. So the liquid gas, or liquid air that basically has to hold in the magazines, is slightly different in Japan to basically what everyone else in the rest of the world uses. We tend to use green gas or black gas or red gas in our MWSs. In Japan, they are restricted to 144 or 134A. I think it's actually a slight variation on that, because I'm pretty sure the 134A we get in the UK, I'm pretty sure it's flammable. I've not set fire to it, but pretty sure it is. So that's one of the restrictions that they have over there. So, and the way that TM Marui produce their airsoft guns is they do not produce for the overseas market. They only produce for the domestic market. And that's important to know, because it means that they have built it for guns shooting sub 1 joule, and that tends to be not the case for the rest of the world, and also not using any flammable propellants. So we're breaking both those rules straight away. So we are going to have some things that are slightly different. So there is fair reason to say, you know what, everything that they've done for use in Japan may not be applicable to everyone else in the world. Removing the fill valve, or at least cutting it down, means that you can actually fit more liquid gas into the magazine. And what this is going to result in is more shots. Now, if you remove the fill valve completely, you can actually get about twice as much gas into the magazine. So a normal green gas magazine will take about 15 grams, and a green gas modified magazine will take about 30 grams of gas. So that does, as you would expect, translate to more shots downrange. And yeah, it exactly does that, but it does come with a few drawbacks. So first off, I think before we get into the main kind of pros and cons, we need to talk about different versions of magazine. So I've got version 1, version 1.5 and version 2 magazines, which are either, you will know because you can take the base plate off, and they will either have version 2 written underneath, or they'll have nothing written underneath. If they're version 2, it basically means that restricting valve is going to be much more difficult for you to remove. So if it is a version 2, you're going to need some tools to do this. And ultimately, if you're going to do it to one magazine, you are going to do it to all of them, because you want the consistency. You don't want some magazines with a fill valve and some without. You would rather have all with, all without. And that means that the mags that you're going to go and use are going to be consistent. Now, as for other different variations on the differences between the version 1 and version 2, there really aren't a huge amount. I've been running version 1, 1.5, 2, like all the different variations of mags, and I personally have actually not done the green gas mod. And the only reason I have a magazine like this is because the fill valve actually fell out. This is one of the reasons that I knew that my testing was okay, because I've also got the weight of the fill valve in here, so it is exactly the same weight unloaded as my non-modified mag. So essentially, I know that they've got mag pulls on the bottom, but the both of them were weighing in at 470 grams, and one of them goes up to 499. That's the green gas modified. So that's like 29 point. You can squeeze a little bit more in, and the other one straight up takes 15. So one of the big things that I think most people, and this is going to sound, hopefully it's not going to be insulting because it's not meant to be this. One of the things that a lot of people do wrong is actually filling the magazines to start with. Now, what you're not going to do each time you fill a magazine is put it on the scales and see how much gas you've actually put in there. But there is one really common mistake that always happens and that I see people making when they're filling up their MWS magazines. Now, I've got a magazine here, completely empty. It's not been purged, it's been shot out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this until it starts spraying out. Now, Tokyo Marui magazines have a blow-off valve inside, basically. And what it means is that when the magazine is full of gas, it will start spurting out. And that is usually your indication to stop filling. Most people know that, and when the gas starts spurting, they stop filling. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this in the way that I see most people do it, which is straight up and down. So got some gas spurting there. So you probably wouldn't think that that was done though. No, it's spurting out definitely there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the scales. It should be about 485 grams. Well, it's 477 grams at the moment, and it certainly appears to be full. We've only put in 7 grams of gas. That's only half the amount that it can take. So all you need to do, and I've covered this off in one other video, is you're going to tilt the magazine forward as you're filling it. So as it starts to spray out like that, tilt the mag forward. Hopefully you heard the change there, and hopefully you heard the change in pitch there. Now let's weigh it again. We should be closer to what we got. Bang on, 485. So I know that this has now got the full 15 grams of gas. I think a lot of the time when people are going out onto the field, they're getting that false fill. The gas is spurting out. There's an assumption there that the magazine is now full of gas, and actually it isn't. So rather than counting, if you haven't done the green gas modification, you want to keep pressing your, you can do it in spurts like that, which is more relevant ultimately if you've got something like this, a metal fill valve. If you're a bit lazy like me, you like to use a plastic one, it doesn't get as cold, it's less likely to freeze, so you can just jam it on and usually fill your mag up absolutely fine. So what I will do is I'll be filling it, and then as I see the gas start to spurt out and it indicates it's full, I tilt the magazine forward, and the second time that it spurts out, I know the mag is actually full. Now, with this, I can get 2 lots of BBs off, so I can fire off at least 70 shots, and I can fire them off in full auto, I can fire them off in rapid fire, quick succession, or nice and slow. So that's the baseline that we're now going to be working with, and that's the baseline that we're going to be comparing the green gas modified magazine to. And that's what I've been doing over this time. So out of this standard mag, I can usually get about 85 shots, which is about 2.5 mags. Out of the green gas modified, I'm getting about 3.5 to 4 magazines out of this. But chance of you taking a fully loaded green gas mag out onto the field and reloading it 4 or 5 times is very unlikely. The reason that most people want to do this modification is to get more gas into the magazine for colder weather, so that they can actually power the system when the temperatures start to drop. And it does work. So I should put that out there. It does work. So if you have got colder weather, then doing the green gas mod does mean that you can get more gas into the magazine, and it does mean that you can fire more shots out of that magazine even in cold weather. So that's something that's very important to note. But there are a few caveats that kind of come with that. And most of these are to do with if you remove the fill valve from your magazine, and sorry, the fill restricting valve from the magazine, so you do the green gas mod, then you're going to have to start counting how long you're filling your mags for, because all of the problems associated with the green gas mod really come when you overfill your magazines. And so when you've done what I'm going to do here, so when you fill it until it sprays out like this, and you put in a full 30 grams of gas, this is now overfilled. So if you're lazy like me, then, you know, this may not, doing the green gas mod may not be the right thing to do, because it means that when I'm going in and out of games, I tend to top my magazines off. Now, being someone that's topping off a magazine, it means that I will not know if I've overfilled it or underfilled it. You know, I know that I've filled it for, you know, I would say if you've got an empty magazine and you've done the green gas mod, Bada Bing covered this off, about 14 seconds, 13 to 14 seconds is that's going to be your fill time. Any more than that, and you're going to be overfilling your mag, and it's going to lead to some issues down the line, and we're going to be talking about those, obviously, you know, a little bit later on. Yeah, if you do like 13 to 14 second fill, you're going to get a decent amount of gas. You're going to get at least your 2 magazines worth of BBs out of the gun before it dies. There is actually another advantage that I found to doing the green gas mod, and that is FPS consistency. So over 2 mags worth, and that, like I said, that's what I'm testing. With the non-green gas modified magazine, I found between 40 and 70 FPS variation over those 70 shots. So it's usually pretty much from the first shot to the last shot. It was going from about 320 down to 250s and stuff like that. So there was quite a big drop. I actually noticed much less of a drop when I was using the green gas modified mag. I just realised we can't have a video without any shooting, so we need to do that. And I've got a new maximum recoil set up, so there's going to be a video coming up soon about that. So, right, what we got here? This is the green gas modified. So we've got the non-green gas modified mag here. Let's get this going. What we're going to do is I'm just going to test the first couple of shots out of this. Then we're just going to mag dump. So that was 290, 299, and 304. And we'll just get rid of these rounds. Freaking love this gun. Okay. So don't forget, this is with a full 15 seconds worth of gas in it. Cool. Right, let's just test the FPS. So that was 282, 281, 283. And we're locked back. Now let's just get a couple more rounds in and see what we're going to get. Okay. That was 249, 247, 246, 240. Still lost back. Oh, the beast. It's almost dead. But we can see there. Yeah, what the FPS drop was. So we've gone from, 304 was the highest we had, basically got down to 240. So that is a full 60 FPS drop that we got off the non-green gas modified magazine. Now, let's do exactly the same thing with the green gas modified. Right, let's see what we get. Time out. So 301, 300, 304. So that is actually already a more consistent FPS that we're getting off there. Okay, and we lock back. So, oh no, the tip fell off. Let's get this back on. Okay. Okay, and the first shot's out of this. That was 282, 285, 285. And we got back. Couple more rounds in. So we get 251, 250, 253. And we are out and clear. So let's have a quick look at those results. So the non-green gas modified mag, we had a 60 FPS fluctuation, which is about in line with what I would expect. And on this one, we went from 300 down to 250, so a 50 FPS fluctuation. So yeah, that's pretty much in line with all of the rest of the testing that I've done. But I did want to do one in front of you guys so you could kind of see the process. But actually, yeah, when we're looking at just firing 2 mags worth of BBs, the green gas modified one is more stable. End of. So actually, as far as consistency goes, the green gas modification seems to be quite good. However, you also need to think about the speed that you shoot. So if you have a propensity to flick onto full auto, and bear in mind, obviously, if you're doing the green gas modification because you're going out in colder climates, that means that you're probably not going to be shooting full auto, so there's going to be less of an issue. That's what I mean. Everyone has to balance what they're going to be doing. But if you're going to be shooting a lot of full auto and you fill a magazine all the way up to the brim, then you are going to get more gas discharging out of the ejection port and shooting down the barrel and essentially filling up the entire system of the gun. Well, it looks cool. Why is that a bad thing? Well, the gas in there, it's not actually coming up. What you're seeing coming out of the side of the gun is gas. What's actually being fed into your gun is liquid. And your gun is not designed to take liquid. And if you've ever filled a gas magazine and got some of that gas on your hand, you know how cold it is. So that is now being fired all the way through the system of your gun. So you're exacerbating the cold problem that you're going to be getting. So again, why does this matter? Well, there is a seal at the back of your nozzle that is made of rubber. You've also got, more than likely, a rubber hop-up rubber. So these things really don't like big temperature fluctuations. They also, especially a hot rubber, doesn't like being doused in silicone. So every time that you do that and the whole system fills up with silicone oil, you are freezing your hot rubber and you're covering it in silicone. So what do you reckon is going to happen to the next 3 or 4 shots that come out of your gun? They're not going to be accurate. They're not going to be going where you want them to go. So if you're going to be doing something like, if you're going to be a DMR, then I would say absolutely, like the green gas mod is definitely the kind of modification that you want to be doing on all of your magazines. It means that you're going to get a more consistent FPS. It means you're going to be able to shoot better in lower temperatures. And because you're not spamming the trigger, there is less chance of that liquid getting fed up into the system, covering silicone all over and freezing your hot rubber, and also causing compression issues in the actual bolt itself. So there are reasons that you don't want it to piss gas everywhere, basically. So if you can avoid that, then do. And if you're going to do the green gas mod, then the way that you have to do this is by counting the amount of seconds of fill of gas. But kind of going back to my previous point, when you've come back from a game, I know that I've filled, 15 seconds worth of gas into this magazine. I've now fired maybe 35, maybe a mag and a half. So how much gas do I now need to put in this for it to have the equivalent of 15 seconds? Well, unless you've got a set of scales on you, you're just not going to know the answer to that. So everyone that does the green gas modification, at some point, you are going to overfill one of your mags. And it is not the end of the world. Don't worry, it doesn't affect things too badly. It's only a game that we're playing anyway, We're just trying to eke out those little incremental increases. No, that's a terrible way of saying it. But we're trying to eke out those like minor gains that we can get to give us that extra advantage. So another question that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering is what happens when you're running a lightweight bolt? And actually, if you are running a lightweight bolt, the problem isn't as bad. The heavier you make your setup, the worse the green gas mod is for what you're doing. So ultimately, on something like this, where I've got a lightweight bolt, I'm running the stock TM buffer in this at the moment as well. So this is actually, if it had full auto, and I basically took all the bits out, tested them in a full auto lower, and yeah, not as much. There is still gas pluming out, a lot more with the green gas mod than non-modded, but it's actually not as bad using the lightweight setup. So if you are on the fence about whether you want to do it, it sounds like, you're thinking, oh, you know what, I think I might like the advantages that the green gas mod gives me, but those disadvantages maybe don't seem worth it. Well, if you're running a lightweight bolt, then those disadvantages are going to, just reduce a little bit for you. So something else to consider. So let's, I've got a little list in front of me of what to go over here. So more shots, better consistency when you do the mod. You get a bolt lock on the second and third magazine when they run out. I did notice with the non-green gas modified magazine, at the end of the second mag, sometimes the bolt was really quite sluggish and obviously didn't make it to the end of the third mag. So for bolt lock consistency, like green gas mod, definitely good. Okay, so some of the cons that you're going to get. So, some of the other like disadvantages that you're getting with this system is, if you play a lot of CQB, then and you're hitting that trigger really fast and really hard, then you are going to be feeding more liquid up through to the system just by that play style. So if you are the sort of person that goes in quite aggressive, then maybe a variation on the green gas mod, i.e. just like maybe cut off an inch or so of the tube just so you can get a little bit more gas into the system. Maybe that's going to be your best middle ground. The final point that I was going to make is I did notice a big difference with, obviously, with one mag you can get off, 2 lots of BBs. The other one you can get off 4 lots of BBs. It does get quite a lot colder as far as the magazine goes. So if you're running with maybe like 6 magazines, that's usually my pretty standard loadout. Are you willing for those magazines to get really, really cold? Because if you end up firing maybe 4 lots of BBs or something like that off through a green gas modified mag, it is going to be ice, and you're going to have to kind of heat it up a bit to get it back into play. So I don't know, just something else to consider. You don't really notice it as much with the mags that haven't been green gas modified. So for me, being quite lazy, being that I'm the kind of person that tops my mags up, that's the reason that I haven't actually done the green gas modification. But actually, from all of the testing that I've done, I really can't see any big disadvantage with doing it. The only problems really come from when you overfill the mags. And I mean, for people playing at home, skirmishing, playing in the back garden, plinking or whatever, that's not going to be a problem. But for those people going out to a skirmish, then you don't really, you just got to be very careful not to overfill your mags throughout the day. So just to be careful on that. And even if you do, it's not the end of the world. All that's going to happen is you're going to freeze up the hot rubber for a bit, and you're going to cover it in a bit of silicone oil. So that's kind of like the worst that can happen. You can get malfunctions and other things like that, but we're not really going to go into that. The purpose of today's video was, should you do the green gas mod? And my personal recommendation is, if you play in cold climates and you don't like spam the trigger really hard, then definitely do it. You know, there is no real disadvantage to you doing it. If you are the sort of player that still plays a lot of CQB, you still like to shoot full auto, or maybe you're living in a warmer climate as well, then I'd probably say there isn't really much need. I would just make sure that first trick that I told you about tilting the mag, just make sure that you do that. And I would suggest to anyone that's watched this is obviously, you've got an interest in the green gas mod and you want to know more about it, then I'd say, next time you're filling your magazines, definitely do the tilt and see if you can get those extra gains that you weren't getting before. I don't know if I actually showed it there, but normally when a magazine first starts to spurt some gas out, it's got about 7 or 8 grams of gas in. You need double that, and the magazine without the green gas mod will take twice that. So it will take 15 grams of gas without the green gas mod. So just make sure that you are getting that in there, because if you're not, then there's no point in you creating work for yourself, going in, potentially cutting all those fill valves, especially if they're version 2s. It's going to be a real pain to remove those. So if you've got 8-9 mags, that's an afternoon that you're going to have to set aside with a pipe cutter and things like that. So yeah, there's going to be a bit to do if you are considering doing all of your mags, and it's not going to be for everyone, but I actually do think that it is for a lot of people. I think it's going to help a lot of people out. But my only word is, make sure you do the tilt first before you start opening things up, cutting things up. Just tilt those mags, see if you're annoyed that you couldn't get through a full mag of BBs, do the tilt, see if you can, and then you may very well be happy, and that could very well have just solved all of your problems, and you don't need to even think about it any further. And also, if you obviously don't do it, then the chance of you like pluming gas and things like that is like massively reduced. Also, if you do get some sort of misfeed or anything like that, then on a normal magazine, you're going to purge 15, 12 grams of gas, something like that. You're going to be purging a full, 30, 25 or something like that grams of gas out of your green gas modified one, if you do have a misfeed. And in the colder weather, they are more likely. So that's why I said there is no like straight answer to this, guys. It is going to be a case of everyone's going to be slightly different, and yeah, I think I've said that about 1 million times now. I think you get the message. You're not stupid. I'll leave you to it. Enjoy the rest of your evening, day, afternoon, night, and I will see you on the next video.